matchup. Afreeca Freecs. BBQ Olivers. Beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split.
Welcome back, guys, to LCK Spring 2018 here at OGN. I know it was a long break, but we're back finally for our final series of the night. Afreeca Freecs versus BBQ, and thankfully, BBQ brought more chicken today, so it's been a real good day. First King Zone, phenomenal League of Legends for us to all watch. Was a little bit fast, but then after a long break, we get this pretty spicy matchup with some pretty spicy chicken.
And we get the confirmation that every BBQ matchup, the cast is going to be perked up. They will not go famished. They will get plenty of free chicken. So, I'm going to have to really meter myself out. Going to have to go back to the gym, I think, after this.
Oh, yeah. In fact, tonight, let's book ourselves in. I want to go back for some seconds. But let's have a look once again at the rankings. King Zone DragonX now taking sole possession of that top spot with that extra game score victory, putting them over KSV. But as you can see, down the bottom of the table, BBQ and Afreeca are actually fighting over the middle ground, with an extra game win going in favor of BBQ Olivers. So this one's really important for Afreeca to really try and get themselves into that top four, sort of top three position that they really want to be, right? Afreeca Freecs have always been a team with so much pedigree and so much potential, but they've never really cracked those top spots.
Finish fifth, lose in the first wildcard match. That's kind of the story for Afreeca through a couple of different iterations of the roster, looking to do one better. Fourth place and onwards, pretty much up for grabs, it feels like. I think King Zone, DragonX, KSV, and KT Rolster will probably be our top three. We've already been surprised by many things. Maybe the surprises will roll on. But I'm very excited for this matchup between two teams that should be around similar power levels. So any result, whether it's a close 2-1, whether it's a 2-0 one way or the other, will tell us a lot about the lay of the land 3 weeks into the LCK.
Yeah, well, let's start over the side of the Afreeca Freecs. No changes to this particular roster, even though they've got about 1 million subs. Still going to be Kiin up towards the top side of the map. Excited to see what he's going to be able to bring out today, especially after watching Khan go completely nuts. Maybe Kiin will feel like it's his time to pick up one of the interesting picks.
And they're cheerfuls. They're far from cheerful. They're serious in the cheerfuls.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone ready to roll. Will we see the Skarner back from good old Spirit? Maybe he's looked up the pro builds and seen that maybe you could max E instead of Q. Thanks, Spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Pub Smithy, of course, incredibly tilted.
I was so tilted. I asked some other LCK junglers. They also didn't understand the Q max. So maybe Spirit knows something no one else does. It's possible. We've seen his Lulu jungle, but probably not going to be Lulu jungle, but maybe an Ivern. It is BBQ Olivers.
Yeah, exactly. Trick with the European champion pool bringing it back. Haven't seen his Evelyn just yet. Really want to, of course. He was talking about that when we first met him. BBQ's first game here at OGN, but haven't seen it just yet. Would be excited to see what he can bring out, and I personally just want more IgNar Alistar, because he is so good.
I'm loving that cheerful, looking really cool, some Persona-esque stuff going on.
Yeah.
But this Ghost also had some great games. His Kog'Maw and Kalista rolling along undefeated. This is a really, really hype one to me. I know there's not the big names there for some.
Yeah.
Might be looking for KT and SKT. No telecoms here. But a lot of hype between BBQ and Afreeca. Are BBQ really a contender, or is it just slightly better than before in the middle of the pack? Are Afreeca Freecs going to be up the top? These are the questions we hope to find out.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as match score is concerned, these teams completely neck and neck. It might be sort of 1-2 game series against King Zone for Afreeca, but BBQ against Rocks, I mean, similar pedigree as far as the teams that they're against, although Afreeca Freecs, you might argue, had a little bit more of a rough one.
Haven't been 2-0'd, which is important. King Zone 2-0'd Afreeca. BBQ hasn't had to play that particular enemy yet, so 1 game score to BBQ, but so little to separate these two teams. About halfway through the first round robin. Kramer is still off the charts. This guy, doesn't matter how his team is doing. We know his KDA has always been strong. Was a bit an ironic title, the KDA player back in spring of last year. But he's leveled up. His team play has been good. His consistency has been great. And Tempt, we saw him on the Zoe. We thought, hey, this is a guy who could maybe push Zoe to the limits. we got the confirmation.
Damn right we did. And I love how even these two teams are, even in that KDA graph. You know, it's sort of like the cross of tennis rackets. But let's have a look at this one. Afreeca Freecs have had their number in the past, but this is such a different BBQ. I don't even think we can necessarily take this at face value.
Does fit your narrative, though. Even 6 and 5, certainly as close as can be in the game score. BBQ got over the line for some amazing teleport plays. It was the Zoe, and that was a great game. As we look at some of the key points, we got some eclectic picks here, guys. We've got the Jax.
I love it.
That one's a team special. A lot of people are going to be playing the Jax, but Skarner, that was a victory, but he was having a tough early game. The Ivern, more impressive from the side of Trick. The Camille, kind of threatening to hit the meta. Feels a couple of champions keeping her out. We could definitely see some off-the-ball picks here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the jungle pool is going to be touched, but I feel like with this particular matchup, the AD carry slot is going to be considered a lot more than our previous series might suggest, because we didn't get any AD carry bans at all, because often they're islands, whereas Kramer and Ghost are players that have been looked at a lot for both of these teams, but it's the mid lane that's going to be that key position, because stepping up has been Tempt, and Kuro still being that beast of the MVP rankings, once again, all the way up top. I don't know how he does it, Papa Smithy.
He's very consistent. In victories, people do look to Kuro on the side of Afreeca Freecs, with Marin no longer there, hogging the limelight next to him.
Yeah, true.
KDA, first in role, is Tempt, who was the player I said at the start of the season I had my eyes on the most. I felt like he was ready to jump into stardom after always being right in the middle, towards the top of the pack, but not a star in his own. So, with the rest of his team leveling up, let's see if Tempt and once again show us a great performance. A lot of Malzahar this season, so hard to draw too much inference from that. But an impressive Zoe, a team fight Zoe. Ironically, in that 0-0-1 game, a victory for Kuro. He won MVP on that one. He doesn't need kills to pick up them MVPs.
Well, we'll see what the fans had to say about this matchup. I can imagine probably a little bit closer, but nope, we got Afreeca Freecs fans everywhere. I would have thought the fact that fans get free chicken every time BBQ play would get a little bit more back there, but not happening. Still too many famous players on the side of the Afreeca Freecs.
I gotta admit, if the correlation was stronger, maybe we get more chickens. So, a bit sad there for BBQ.
Come on, guys, get voting.
Fan votes on Facebook are about followings. Afreeca Freecs have more famous players. They will win the fan vote here. So, but we think it's going to be much more neck and neck. If you said 80-20 to either team, I think you'd be lying. Afreeca Freecs 60-40. It's about as confident as I want to go. Where I want to go is into picks and bans. We're about to chime onto 8 p.m. Korean Standard Time. That means the League of Legends gets going.
Yeah, and I'm just so excited to see what picks we're actually going to see out of these two teams as well, because they're so different with where their priorities lie. They're so different with where the power points are and what champions actually provide said power points as well. So this draft is going to be more interesting than a lot of others that we actually see, where it's just vying for the most powerful picks.
But we just had a Riven draft, so perhaps it's going to be
maybe
less
it's
explosive.
Not that exciting as that one. Okay, maybe. And a Riven that got a pentakill as well to finish off the game. But Sejuani, that's not exciting at all. That's going to be the first ban here for the Afreeca Freecs. And BBQ, get rid of the old Rise.
We'll see if the hive mind is there on the point you were bringing up pre-match, which is about the fact that we saw no AD carry focus in bans in Game 1.
Yeah.
The meta here when it comes to bans especially has evolved quite a few times already in 3 weeks on the same patch, which is heartening to see. Kind of reminds you of the Brood War days, where the patches were a lot less frequent, but there was always new innovation, and we got so many champions that you can roll through counters people didn't think of. We had Riven into Gangplank in the previous game. As we get going here, so far the Braum ban, very early. Favorite of TusiN, his highest win rate jungler and highest play rate, sorry, I should say support, and highest play rate support so far, so a lot of respect shown to the Braum. We'll probably knock the Taric up another notch. I think we could see some Taric here.
Yep, potentially. I'm looking at Kalista, though, because I feel like BBQ, with now having IgNar on the roster, Ghost was always a fantastic Kalista player, but now IgNar is a phenomenal playmaker. So using that Fates call effectively has just gone up in its stock value by a whole lot here for BBQ, which is why, you know, they're undefeated on that champion so far, and is a dangerous one to leave up. We'll see whether Afreeca actually look for it onto Kramer. The Ornn going to be the final ban here from BBQ. So some interesting ones. The mid lane certainly hit pretty hard, but Zoe standing out like a sore thumb, but Galio as well. And on blue side, they're going to pick it up. So you were talking about this before. The sort of puzzle pieces need to align. What do BBQ do now to deny that?
You could definitely answer with the Jarvan. I really like Trick's Jarvan after a lot of time spending farming junglers. The Zac, for example. Ivern as well. He went more aggressive in their last series against Gnar, and it paid off in spades. It also denies the Cataclysm and also the Heroic Entrance. The Cataclysmic Entrance duo is banned away. I would also like to see the Kog'Maw taken away. Now you have Kog'Maw and Kalista, both of them 2-0 for the side of Ghost. It's very interesting to see where you go here in terms of AD carries because everything is left open. Kalista and the Galio as a duo is usually another way to set up knockups, so they seem to be happy to leave open the Kalista. We'll see if Kramer wants to pick it up.
Yeah, the setting up knockups, but also Galio is a linchpin to most protect the Kog'Maw type composition.
Yeah, that's why they take it away.
Yeah, exactly. So like the only big tank that you can have really in the meta in the mid lane at the moment. So denying that I think is a really big deal. So they're going to pick that one up. But I like the fact that they were thinking about it for so long because like you say, it's a really difficult decision to make because Kalista still there, but Camille is going to be picked up as a flex for Spirit. Denying it from Trick is sort of unnecessary with the J4 already locked in, but still going to be something with a lot of ambiguity. And do they grab the Zoe or do they get their AD carry? I feel like AD carry is important, and Kramer has been certainly moving towards the Ezreal rather than the Kalista when given the choice over the last couple of games.
I like that you mentioned the Zoe because the Galio also functions as a blocker pick for Zoe in some ways. We've seen Galio basically never have to wince in pain most of the time against a Zoe, but Azir would be powerful. It's banned away, so they're really kind of running short of great options against the Galio. The Corki is the famous farm lane. The last time Galio was in meta, we saw it a lot, and it is a Tempt special.
Certainly
from yesteryear, so it's going to be locked in here.
So the mid lane already sort of locked up, unless we are going to have the Afreeca Freecs moving to some sort of fancy Galio composition, but I feel like if the Galio is on the other side, the European influence might force him into another role. Hey, we don't really see him outside of the mid lane here.
If you're going to talk about fancy Afreeca comps, remember, they're the only team to run Camille support, so
hey,
we can go straight off the deep end if you want to.
We can put Camille anywhere.
Look at this.
Zoe's still banned.
The side of BBQ agree with this kind of hyperbola and say, yeah, maybe it is going to be the flex on the Galio or the Camille. Does end up being the Zoe ban here, just in case. Zoe could do a lot of deleting against Kog'Maw and the Corki, and we had the true one-shot yesterday at the Gangnam Stadium where someone died to just a Battle Star. We're not talking about no trouble bubbles.
Nope. Ain't no trouble bubbles, especially not for the Zoe in that particular instance, and that was a well-fed one as well, if you guys were watching yesterday. MVP did not have a great time on Summoner's Rift.
Big tip to a Gangplank draft on red side here with the Vladimir ban. Could just pick up the Gangplank, first pick on red side.
So much hyperscaling from BBQ if they do decide to go that route. Holy crap.
Not a lot of tankiness, though, and a lot of the tank supports now with Taric banned away. So Taric with the Gangplank would have given them some backup tankiness. Now suddenly you're like, wait, are we opting into too much scaling is the question you're going to have to ask. Let's see what they first decide.
Wow,
Seems like they're still going to go. So if they take the Gangplank and we see an answering Alistar, tank supports are at a premium. Maybe it needs to be something a little bit left of center, like the Leona to get initiation, but not really looking for initiation so much, kind of looking for peel that Braum and Tom Kent would provide with this many carries.
Yeah, maybe they go back to some sort of Nami composition potentially. You know, Nami Kog'Maw hasn't been seen for a while. I remember whispers of it, I guess, at the beginning of the preseason.
It's a correct decision here to take the Alistar.
Oh, absolutely.
Alistar into Galio, and then X-Tech Ultimatum to guarantee things is what they're considering. It's also a TusiN favorite, so Ezreal, Alistar will be locked in.
And the denial on IgNar as well. I feel like it might have even been a mistake to lock in the GP instead of the Alistar, because that bottom lane certainly would have been helped by having IgNar on a champion that he's been able to make so many plays on. And Gnar going to be the choice potentially here for Kiin. We will be seeing that jungle Camille.
IgNar has a very wide champion pool, but for this scenario where you have 3 squishy hyperscalers and a Jarvan, really interesting to see what he decides on. There's no great answer as far as I can see. Has played the Leona, like we mentioned, could be a draft here, but doesn't necessarily fit the identity of the comps. They're taking their time.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Shen, of course, is a fringe pick, and IgNar has been a big fan of it. In fact, equal most played is Morgana. Okay, that's different. But that does deny the knockups.
Interesting choice here. Makes sense for the Kog'Maw in particular, but you're kind of out of luck if you're the Gangplank and the Corki. Only one target going to be able to profit from this. It's a ranged laner, so it definitely can generate a lot of gold in the bot side. There's a lot of gold in the game now as well, so how heavy on the ability power do we see from Morgana, or are we just going all the shields all the time? very interesting draft of Morgana in this scenario. First range support outside of Thresh we've seen in a while.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it, Papa Smithy. I feel like there's not a lot of tankiness, and they're relying BBQ on Trick so much to be able to get this team through what could be a horror early game against the Afreeca Freecs and what they've put out there. A gauntlet's been thrown, it feels, and this is also Afreeca Freecs' wheelhouse. Nothing's changed since summer last year. They are still Game 1 kings a lot of the time. So we'll see whether it is going to work. I don't necessarily like Kiin being on the Gnar. I feel like the Gnar GP matchup isn't necessarily as Gnar favored as people initially thought. And he just has so many other carries he could have gone to. Maybe we've been spoiled by Khan.
You have to add on the pressure, though, of both the hookshot initiation from range and the Galio rolling in.
Yeah.
So while the matchup in a vacuum isn't going to be just solo kills left, right, and center, the vacuum is not happening here. There's plenty of initiation for Afreeca Freecs. Couldn't get the full knock-up trio, but it's damn close.
Yeah, and you have to remember that this is Ghost with a 16 KDA over 2 games on his Kog'Maw. It's a terrifying prospect, but let's do it. Let's get into game number 1.
환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
So we roll in here. Game 1 of Afreeca versus BBQ. Level 1 against the Camille. I think it's very, very important to get information on jungle start. And both junglers are going 1v1 in terms of the vision battle here to start.
Yep, just the general lineup. As we heard, Afreeca and BBQ, at least here in the stadium, very, very even as far as that cheer is concerned. So I feel like now, because everyone's been chickened up.
Well, that's not us, but there's the 3 Korean casters there. Dongjin on the left, Caster John in the middle.
That wasn't a very flattering
on the right.
Caster John photo, or drawing, I might add.
Always nice to see some caster love. Already talked a bit about the history and how close it was, and you made the good point of a lot has changed for BBQ. Still the same mid laner, still the same top laner. AD carry also stays the same, but bringing in Trick and IgNar definitely has introduced a lot of new fans to the team and also giving them potentially some upgrades in both positions. Spirit was going at the top side with the Jarvan, you'll remember, then does go for the bot side. Hard leash coming through from...
Really hard leash.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get a super leash, though. We did not see Ghost, and the reason why we don't see the super leash by Kuro is just to add a bit more creeping doubt into what's happening involving the jungle start. If there is a super leash, you can kind of piece together what the jungle route will be. Very simply, because they didn't go for a super leash, we can see a very early invade or potentially a very early gank as well. So at least the flexibility open for the jungler because of that little adjustment.
We'll see what Spirit's going to be able to do now with the fact that he will have a lot of free time moving around the enemy jungle if he wants to. 2 shoving lanes. Kuro, of course, will be able to shove out the lane quite well. At least early against Tempt with the Winds of War. And Kiin should be able to have tabs on this lane as well. So getting the Camille into a position to challenge Trick could be important given the fact that Afreeca do rely on putting pressure on early to try and win this game. There is so much scaling inside of BBQ. So much mixed damage as well. It's like the perfect hyperscaling if they do make it to 50 minutes into this game.
So if they do, is the question you use, and
oh yeah,
how do you do that? If you're against a team with very strong engage, big story is to get defensive control ward vision. Obviously it'd be nice for Trick to get Tracker's Knife and put down some wards to predict Camille's path, but there's so much of a guarantee on a gank. Hextech Ultimatum and Galio is a knockup, right? There's no way to get out of that. So you see a plenty from other members in the lanes as well. So any sort of defensive vision you can get to make those knockups, make those initiations predictable is so important for the side of BBQ.
Once again, we're seeing the electrocute Galio as well. Interesting. I believe we've seen it one other time here in the LCK.
Now, unsealed spellbook, not some of the other choices. The electrocute does do a lot of burst damage, it's worth noting. So you can understand why it's being considered, but at first thought it wasn't the obvious choice to me.
No. See what Kuro is going to be able to get done. Goes back, buys himself another ring. Blinged out on this Galio for the moment. should be fine here in this lane. Not going to have that earlier Summoner Spell cooldown, though, which is one of those reasons why, because it means that he can sort of relentlessly shove and not really care about his health bar because he can just get back whenever he feels like. Tempt might be able to capitalize. But you can see Trick going to wander into vision. And already Afreeca showing that keeping tabs on Trick is certainly something that they want to be doing. And that's why they've got a lot of these River Wards already put down.
BBQ are one of our 5 stopwatch teams. Only 4 this time, as Corki hasn't opted into it. But against Galio in the knockout party, it certainly is nice to have the stopwatch to de-aggro.
Yeah, actually not a whole lot of inspiration coming in on the side of Afreeca. Both solo laners not going to be hopping in there. Thankfully, the bottom lane is well and truly inspired. TusiN going to be able to hop over to that late game Ghost Alistar, which has been so scary. Able to move himself around the map and also get the teleport if he ever needs to. A lot of playmaking ability available. And so far, the lane is being won by Kramer. About a wave of minions ahead of Ghost.
They're pushing in from very early with the Q, just to keep the attack speed stacks up and try to push out the lane. Does allow Camille to have a wealth of options when it comes to invades. All 3 lanes pushing means that he's now warded up the red side jungle. Does suggest that Gangplank turret dive is going to happen sometime in the next 5 minutes. We'll have to last through and the stopwatch most likely, but that seems to be the game plan. Yep. Spotted on a ward, as we can see. Should note that while Trick was the first jungle Camille, as Ghost's going to just get a Black Shield and get away.
It's a sexy headbutt pulve though. Black Shield not quite in time, but TusiN has to be careful.
Yeah, it took a binding, so it took extra damage. But even though Trick was the first to play in the LCK, Spirit debuted it in solo queue. Blank was playing a lot of it as well. Spirit has always been on the cutting edge of junglers. The Lulu is one
scientist,
we will never, ever forget. Said in his interview last time out after their victory over Rox Tigers that he always wants to be finding out what's new on a patch. And maybe in 8.2 he'll have another new pick for us. But very, very accustomed to the Camille. And his hookshot max first this time. We saw kind of equal points in hookshot and Q, the Precision Protocol, last time. But this time it is going to be an equal max. So it's going to be a E-max from Spirit.
Haven't quite seen a gank from him just yet. Now approaching the mid lane, but not exactly the most healthy clear thus far. Scryer's Bloom going to help him clear out a bunch of this vision and clears out bottom side as well. They lost the control ward, so BBQ are fighting back, but you can see still top side, so much vision available. And double zombie wards at least here for the Afreeca Freecs as well, which is something we should probably note, just because now if the Galio and the Camille are both going to be clearing out vision, they're going to be setting it up at the same time. So they understand that they need to have the vision control as well if they are going to best BBQ early on in this game. They feel their comp probably is going to trump theirs.
No double control ward around mid lane. That's always the gold standard when you have Taliyah or Galio, these true roaming champions. So can't know for sure if Kuro is being spotted out. Right now Kuro is hugging the left side of the lane. A blasting one first purchase is very aggressive.
Wow,
Rod of Age is very possible from this particular item. Could be the Liandry's also.
A few different choices.
A lot of magic damage on the side of BBQ. Kog'Maw expected to go on hit build, Corki and Morgana as well. Gangplank ultimate, so because there's so much magic damage, you'd expect some sort of magic resist item, but it might be just a bit later for Kuro.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting tracking what people have been picking up on the Galio recently, because it's been a lot of different builds. We've seen the Proto Belt into Liandry's into Void Star for a little bit more damage. We've seen, of course, the Abyssal Mask into a little bit more of a tanky option, and like you said, the Rod of Age is another thought in people's minds. I like it, and when there's no sort of cookie-cutter build for a champion, that's when I feel like they're in a great place, because you can decide what you want to do based on the situation at hand.
That was the big change for Galio, is base damage is down, scaling up. To a comical degree in that one patch that never saw competitive play,
yeah,
where he was just nuking people left, right, and center. We never saw that, sadly, but...
Why is that sadly? I don't...
It was really fun. I mean, we see Zoe now, so it's the same sort of feel.
Hey, yeah, that's true.
Hook shot here.
Yeah, looking for Trick. And you see it does a lot of damage. You mentioned the max. Damn. Trick probably not going to come back. Kiin, we're going to try and steal this. I wonder whether he's actually going to. IgNar is going to help him do a bit more damage to it.
This build is all about mobility. The skill order from Spirit. Ganking as well. Hookshot is for burst, so for single target camps, I guess it's fine, but Certainly not for clearing AoE camps. And walk up. They've had so much control in this area. What do we always say when we have a Galio or Twisted Fate mid? You can invade. Your mid laner will always rotate first because of the hero's entrance, because of the global, and thus the enemy jungler has to really think about his options.
Well, Spirit going to be in a lot of trouble. Hookshot should be able to come in, but Crazy's going to turn up. Oh, thankfully, no, not enough. Ultimatum does come down. He was waiting for the hookshot, but just didn't quite get it in time.
So was Trick. Hookshot was on cooldown. We were waiting for him to escape. Also, Tempt had control of Kuro in the lane. The call would have been, this is the time you can actually go aggressive and just disregard the global. It works out there. Spirit too greedy on the invade, and that'll slow down the advance of Afreeca Freecs.
And also mean that all of this control topside with all of this vision is going to have an opportunity to be cleared out here by BBQ. Grab hold of this game once again. Does mean that they do have an actual gold advantage as well. Kleptomancy playing against each other this time. Of course, Kramer versus Crazy as far as that extra gold generation means that we have relative parity as far as looking at the CS numbers, looking at the kill numbers, and the gold should actually represent what has happened there.
I feel like the guarantees around the scaling comp from BBQ, the scaling damage is so obvious, right? You can tell from Gangplank, Corki, and Kog'Maw, who are reaching unreasonable level. But apart from that, Atlas, does scaling damage matter if no one in front of you is tanky? Only the Jarvan is going to have tank stats. They're going to have to overwhelm a Galio with sheer damage, something that is very tricky to do. So I feel like the guarantees of the late game dream for BBQ are mixed at best just because they are so light on tankiness.
And it's going to rely on Crazy with his cannon barrage positioning so much, because what BBQ's comp has to do is pretty much kite forever.
Yep.
And they're never going to be able to settle down in these team fights. I mean, you know it in solo queue, you know, like when there's someone, that the team comp that has the Curse of the Sad Mummy in the bullet time, you just know that they're going to work. Well, Afreeca Freecs certainly have more options like that than BBQ do, so we'll see whether they've got the finesse to make this one work. We do know that a lot of these players are extremely talented, but when it comes to a situation where Afreeca Freecs understand that they do need to be able to execute like that, might mean that they can use their more straightforward composition a little bit more easily.
There's always that tug of war between reliability and possibility. And if the reliable comp matches the possibility, you'd go reliable every time. When Ryze had no skill shots, the joke was always, why any other mid laner if you don't necessarily have to hit a skill shot if the Q was a targeted ability? And they've got basically targeted engage. The Hextech ultimatum into the Galio ult is the simplest thing ever. You can't mess it up. It's targeted. So at the end of the day, a lot of reliability, a lot of opportunity and possibility for BBQ. Making it work at the highest level against veteran status players, no guarantee.
It's all about potential. Dark Binding does hit. It's going to be taken here by the Afreeca Freecs. Is the Cloud Drake and Trick. He has a Black Shield, gets the knock-up. Big Cataclysm doing a lot of damage onto Spirit, but Hextech ultimatum's there. Hero's entrance. Spirit's going to go into his stopwatch, and Trick now caught in the wrong position. Kiin, meanwhile, smacking people into walls. Kuro is going to get the Colossal Smash and get rid of Tempt. Easily follows up onto Ghost. And this is one of the problems. As soon as Afreeca get on top of BBQ, they are donezo. And oh god, Trick, very close to falling to Kramer.
No one's a tank in the early game. They're not going to have the damage we're talking about. Scaling means nothing at 12 minutes, and yet BBQ fight. Is this the time to fight? When a Cloud Drake is picked up, you're getting free damage onto a Alistar. You have the Gangplank ult, not useful in this particular scenario. The answers seem pretty clearly no, and yet that was the call from BBQ. To me, it's the wrong one. Really nice flanking teleport from a player we usually only talk about in his laning strength. Very good teleport from Kiin. The cleanup is good, and it's a bonus to the side of Afreeca Freecs.
Yep, and really good Mega Gnar timing as well. Shows that Afreeca Freecs, they got the go-ahead from their top laner. He was like, yep, ready to go. I got the red bar. We're ready to get angry. And he did. Smackdown BBQ.
And look who else is ready for the smackdown. Kramer's like, hey, I got a straight Trinity Force.
Oh, that's my boy.
No Iceborne Gauntlet here. No mid-game where you have control and not damage. This is saying, hey, nice scaling. I've got damage right now.
Yep, and the Rod of Ages now completed for Kuro as well, so that'll be a decent clip for when that one is at the right position. IgNar, Black Shield is there, but you can see this is a rampaging, angry cow. TusiN wants to just get IgNar out of the lane.
Now it's on Afreeca to ratchet up the pace of the game. The next round of cooldowns between Kuro and Spirit could really open up. It's only 600 gold, it's only a single kill. Lots of standing gold, a Trinity Force Ezreal to roll down turrets. This is where things get better and better for Afreeca, but not quite able to pick up the first turret blood, the first brick denied by Ghost finally getting back to lane.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of damage now from Kramer. You saw that 1Q onto Ghost is pretty scary. He's got his Rage Blade, but it's a very different scenario. Kramer now, he's got burst damage on that bottom side. He can time when he wants to fight Ghost. There is no way this Kog'Maw can stand up against him in an open lane. All of the control, predictably, in favor of Afreeca.
Working on double Trinity Force, build we always see from Spirit and solo queue is Warrior Trinity Force, and Sheen lets you know that's exactly what's coming here.
He's at least able to control this control ward. Kudos to him. IgNar's going to turn up now as well, meaning that Headbutt Pulverize is not going to be as possible by TusiN, who's picked up the Ignite. We know exactly what the cow wants to do. Oh god. Each one of these Qs really is dangerous. Lands another one on the Ghost.
We don't get to see too much Trinity Force Ezreal in the current meta with the scaling there. It hits all three.
Yep. And
Ultimate
he has to leave.
Not available yet. Will be soon.
But I mean, that's all he needed to do, right? That's the turret going over to Afreeca Freecs right here.
Absolutely.
Next wave.
You said it succinctly, simply. It will be the turret. Doesn't even go for the ultimate. Realizes that Ghost would already have backed away. Freebie for the Afreeca Freecs. Didn't even need Galio's time in order to get over their solo gold onto the Ezreal as well. Happy times. And hey, take that.
Oh, that's frustrating.
That was not on purpose, but hilarious.
I know. Just loses the home guard situation. No, none of that extra movement speed, buddy.
Loses the package MS.
Yeah.
So sad times there.
I always just say home guard, even though it's not even really that anymore, is it?
Home guard is basically moving fast in our brains.
Yeah, exactly. He's leaving base quick, right? He's obviously upgraded his boots.
I think Kramer's going to be...
by.
Sorry, not Kramer. I should say Kuro, I think, is going to be rolling on to the... I would imagine it's going to be Adaptive Helm second. Works really well against Corki and on-hit Kog'Maw.
I would have assumed Abyssal Mask, personally.
Could still be, for the double Catalyst. Will be a lot of damage early. Doesn't have a lot of magic damage on his team to profit off of the prop.
Yeah,
though.
like I think that your idea is way better. I like the idea of Adaptive Helm. It's TusiN. Oh, gets the flash out of Crazy.
Knockbacks, the one thing that Oranges aren't as adept at dealing with.
Yep.
Does. Broke the flash there. Crazy has his ultimate, but there's not a big minion wave this time. May have to ult the next minion wave to slow down the game. Trick trying to increase the pace of the game. And what? I tell a lie. Total fib, didn't see the turret elf. Was basically 0.
Absolutely no chance there. As Kiin's like, well, guys, I think we're going to lose this one. But the Rift Herald going to be in trade. I have a feeling that Afreeca going to be more than happy with that. Look at all of the vision that they're able to put down on the top side of the map as well. They're going to try and suffocate BBQ out and just straight up not care.
I'm just going to take everything, right? They're taking the Rift Herald. They're getting damage on the inner turret. Gangplank can do nothing about it. Afreeca trying to take an inner turret here. Because Galio can always help if a turret dive goes wrong. They're second-guessing their options, and Rift Herald in mid lane. They pull away from bot lane. This is definitely BBQ getting caught with their pants down. They're losing a lot across the map, and they only got a single turret.
Yeah, and that's a massive headbutt. Kuro's going to turn up because now the Rift Herald can tank up so much of this damage. Trick is going to turn up at the right time, might save this turret, but there's only a bit of a whisper before that one actually goes down, and the entire outer ring will have been claimed by the Afreeca Freecs. You may think of saying this is an out-comp situation, right? But I feel like Afreeca also have played this out very, very well in how they've been able to control certain portions of the map as this game has gone on.
I think they controlled the draft super well as well. They banned away the turret. The turret was the one we said would kind of hold the enemy team in check a little bit. The Cosmic Radiance could turn a fight. The early base damages of the tanky members of Afreeca is ignored, and then the sheer damage from BBQ can come back. But BBQ also fought too early around the Cloud Drake. That probably means they can't fight around the Infernal. If they'd just been scaling at this point, had an extra 20 CS with less gold from kills on the side of Afreeca, maybe the Infernal will be the first time this game where double Trinity Force, couple of items in, they could actually fight. Now they can't. Things go from bad to worse for BBQ. Still with some sort of a light at the end of the tunnel. Given the reliability of Afreeca's comp, you can't help but be cynical about BBQ's chances to actually get a foothold in the game.
Yep, it's going to be really hard for them to pull it back. Of course, if Afreeca do take their time in trying to finish this one off, certainly there is a way for them to get back in, just with sheer scalability of this composition. And of course, Trick finding the perfect Cataclysm engage and Crazy placing a Cannon Barrage in the right spot. A lot of things need to go right, though, for BBQ, whereas I feel like Afreeca, they find an opportunity to walk at BBQ, they're going to take it. And they've got the item builds and the composition to do so. I just really love what you spoke about with the adaptations that have been made. And that's actually going to be the Gargoyle Stoneplate. So very on theme for Kuro. Certainly another option, and making sure that he can just stand in the face of a lot of these consistent damage dealers and not care too much.
Stoneplate, very decent choice. I was thinking about the adaptive helm. Could just come now. You know,
yeah.
How much ability power you build on the Galio is still up for debate. You want some, but you don't necessarily have to be going death cap far into a build. Still largely about the tank ability. Easy objectives taken for Afreeca Freecs. The harder objectives where we really will judge them, taking the inner turrets now that the outer ring is done. They also had a control ward very early on Baron. At 1850 we saw the control ward go down, so taking Baron is also something they want to start up because their turn is insane. Hook shot into Galio into goodbye.
Not to mention the fact that BBQ aren't going to have as many options for the turn. You know, the disengage, not quite as much.
They are the turned on person. You know, if this is a friendship and someone's going to be...
Yeah, they're the good guy in the relationship, you know?
Yes.
Oh, no.
They're definitely the one getting screwed over in the relationship. That's what's happening here.
Terrible. Like teenage relationship style.
Yeah.
Just like totally screwed.
The mutiny is coming. If you're a wrestling fan, the heel turn is obvious. Everything here is set up for the turn from Afreeca. That's why they got the control wards down. 3 control wards around Baron. A commonplace thing at 25 minutes. They've had it from 18 minutes onwards.
Well, Trick's in trouble. Gonna flag and drag his way out. Didn't have to use any summoner spells. No need to get too over the top, Atlas, but you can see it's just blue on the bottom side of BBQ's jungle. There is not a lot of red being able to be put down, and all of those wards that they did manage to get down in the red side jungle of Afreeca have just dissipated because there's just no way for BBQ to get over there. All of the map control is so firmly
and who's going to put him down?
Afreeca Freecs. No one.
Jarvan will try. You know, maybe Jarvan with the Black Shield can do things, but you're already requiring multiple members just to go on any sort of warding mission, let alone a ward clearing mission, which takes longer. Full court press from Afreeca. It's looking very, very tricky for BBQ after how well the early game has gone. We're waiting for the fallback to the Baron. Right now they don't have deep vision on the red side jungle except for what looks like a zombie ward around the entrance to the enemy red buff. So for now at least, Afreeca return, hitting their item spikes. Trinity Force is going to be finished on Spirit on the next back, you'd imagine. Things going to plan. Whereas some of the scaling has started for BBQ, but they're about an item short of really feeling confident about any sort of fight.
Well, Trick pretty lucky right here as he does manage to get a ward over the wall in the Baron Pit. Some cheeky vision that Afreeca haven't been able to stop from happening.
So the pings from TusiN, I think, basically saying, hey, Kiin, this time it's your control ward. It's already down around this area. Nice little ward there we see on the entrance. Why we see double control ward on Baron now? One advanced in the pit and one just behind the pit to spot out these wards that have been pretty commonplace ever since the new vision system came into play, what, 3 years ago almost now?
Yep. And showing just the benefit that you managed to get from all of that extra vision as well, with Spirit just happily clearing out the enemy Gromp as if it's his own.
Ghost has gone for the realism build of, I'm not going to be hurricaning anyone, I'm going to have to deal with one person, going for second item Blade of the Ruin King.
Feeling like his Wit's End power spike isn't much of a power spike here at 25 minutes into the game where he'd potentially be purchasing it.
Well, you'd want to kite with Hurricane, but you're not kiting the Hextech Ultimatum.
Nope.
So again, just good build for the situation, but the situation quite dire for BBQ. Gold, it's fine. For scaling, for damage, it's fine. Making it happen is hard, as that ward is getting massive value.
Paying some dividends. Heck of a lot of vision, so as far as that turn as you were talking about, Papa, is concerned, means that Afreeca can certainly get that one done, and they'll know exactly who's coming.
But you saw BBQ into action very early, and that tells Afreeca, all right, we have still got some vision to deal with, because BBQ was so instant in answering the vision. They should probably smell a rat at this stage.
The timing as well for starting this Baron, you can completely understand it. Trinity Force just came in. We've got 10 stacks now on our Rod of Ages. For Kuro, we've got the Bilgewater Cutlass, which is a big deal, but also the transformation on that Muramana. I feel like as far as a time to fight for Afreeca, they're really going for it, which is now why all of the objectives they're willing to contest. That blue buff definitely want to be there. The Baron, certainly something they're looking for, and now they've definitely got Soul Vision.
And all their items say fight now. You just mentioned it, but you look at things like fat magic penetration on the Galio. It's going for a Haunting, guys, at this point in the game. Trinity Force on Ezreal instead of the Iceborne Gauntlet. 2 items on the Gnar. These items don't get better as the game goes on. They're strongest right now, and the Stone Plate even is, you know, as much budget tankiness as possible, knowing that no one's going to have any sort of percentage health damage from a Giant Slayer or a Lord Dominik's Regard this early into the game. This is all about taking Baron, taking Infernals. Second Infernal, now complete for the Afreeca Freecs. Get the confirmation there was warding there with the zombie ward. Lets them know that was a slight snafu around their 22-minute Baron start. Afreeca want to keep on this. Again, they haven't won the game yet. They haven't taken the Baron they've set themselves up for. They're still far away from... Oh, that's not far away.
Nope, and that is an ultimatum. Ghost learning exactly the problem with this composition, because there's not a lot of getting out of the way of this one. As IgNar, he's going to go into the stopwatch, flashes out of the way, and in goes Spirit. That was an interesting move. I think I've seen Smev do something like that, and he got paid for, and Tempt is going to do exactly the same thing. But Afreeca Freecs, they want to fight. They want to find more. BBQ are going to successfully move out of the way. So a 1-for-1 in the end. I feel like that is not what Afreeca Freecs wanted. They wanted to get that pick and take a Baron.
Especially when that one pick is the smite, like you say, Atlas. So taking out the enemy AD carry, perfect. Losing your smite for it. If a rush of the blood to the head there for Spirit will delay the game out further. Good news for BBQ Olivers. Was a big engage coming through from TusiN, but didn't find the maximum. As Tempt just getting some free damage onto Kuro. He's got 2 friends as well.
Yep, surprise friendship as Trick is going to turn back up. Kramer finds some cheeky Qs though, and there's a Blade of the Ruined King already done.
There's definitely...
Oh god, IgNar could just straight up be dead. That's like a Q and an auto attack.
Kramer is a monster right now.
Oh my god. That is only arcane shifts forward as IgNar... Whoy! Okay. I was frightened.
Yeah, the point I couldn't finish there is I think they win 2v3 with as strong as the Ezreal is right now, and Kuro's ability to ignore damage. So smart of BBQ to see one person get the hell out of there. TusiN rushes in, gets the initiation. So far, so good. Nothing Ghost can do. Tries to buy time. That's, you know, the end of his life. All the ultimates are used. Ghost did fine. But after this, what exactly is Spirit doing? He's jumping in. They don't have vision in the area. The blast cone is there, but that's not going to get him out. Silly stuff from Spirit does spoil what was some pretty good setup there from Afreeca Freecs. He is their shot caller now with Marin gone. The first thought was good. The second thought, not so good.
No. I like the aggression, though. Afreeca certainly do need to make proactive plays. Just maybe make different ones. Just not that particular proactive play. Tempt very close to item spike number 3, but Liandry's Torment now completed for Kuro. He's feeling real good. Kiin's got a GA. Good god, this Gnar is massive.
Another let's ice the game out soon item. Killing a Gnar twice at this point, not viable for any of these carries. 2 Infernals down, a 3rd Infernal is just... We've seen double, triple Infernal today.
Yeah, we have. And it's been not so great for the team that didn't get them. Felt a little bit inconsequential for Kingzone to grab it because that was a 27-minute game. This one feels like a different story because due to Afreeca picking up these scaling Drakes, it's going to mean that even if BBQ managed to draw this out, with 3 Infernals, you have to feel that Kramer's going to be doing disgusting damage, and even Kuro and Spirit going to be smashing through people.
I want to see Kiin keep building damage to have threat on Gangplank in the sideline, something we criticized Cuvée for not doing in KSV's game, in their same matchup, Gnar versus Gangplank. Need to create 4-1 pressure on the bot side. That's what they ideally want to do, but Tempt does have teleport this game, so harder to pull off the right lane assignment. Does mean the game continues to stall out. The Infernals are something, but the team comp is more important. Afreeca know they're strong, but just like previous teams today, they can't necessarily flex their muscles and use the strength of their team fight comp. They haven't been able to set up a pick in a scenario where they want to. 3 control wards around Baron. Back to the same plan. Let's see if they can execute it better than their last attempt.
Yep. You can see it's probably going to be a 1-3-1 opted in for. Kiin hopping back to base, grabs himself some extra control wards. They've got a heck of a lot of them. And QSS done for Kramer as well.
Ping onto the ward that was placed that time. So same spot that we saw a ward placed earlier. Replaced by IgNar. Spirit going to be able to sweep that one out in a little bit. Usually when they're going to turn onto it, it's probably the time they want to make that happen. Afreeca continue to push forward. They are controlling the great majority of this map. If it's not to the tune of the Baron, there's still hope for BBQ Olives.
And another good ward. Tempt is going to be able to know exactly what Kramer is going to be doing. And Rocket is going to say, yes, I have a ward there. Please leave.
Was confirmed by the ping from Kramer about the vision spotting. Nice control wards. One in the lane, one also just floating in the brush, advanced of the Raptors. And it's not a mistake. That's just to control space, just to ensure there's no teleport flank spots for Kiin.
But his vision needs to be capitalized on. It's great to have vision down, but if you do nothing with it, you may as well just not have the vision there at all. So Afreeca, you can see now playing closer towards the top side, and there are pings on this Baron. They want to get in there. They want to start taking it. IgNar is in a decent spot. Controlling this brush above the red buff does mean the BBQ can at least have a fast track towards the back of that Baron pit. Try and look for it. Oh, Dark Binding sort of picking the gap between the Afreeca Freecs members.
Don't have deep enough vision to guarantee that a Righteous Glory Headbutt Pulverize won't be turned.
Kiin, unfortunately, hits Baron instead of the ward. Baron gets annoyed.
But it's cleared again, and we wonder where the vision seesaw will go.
Well, it looks like Infernal Drake number 3, just to ensure Afreeca get it, is going to be taken first. Spirit shouldn't have too much trouble. Steric's Gauge going to most likely be item number 3 for the Camille. I believe that's what we saw out of Trick as well. Seems like the pretty standard build.
Has a synergy with base AD and Trinity Force as well, so get a lot of value out of Trinity Force on the Steric's Gauge. Nice synergy there, Ninja Tabi and the Tenacity from when the shield pops on Steric's Gauge. So yeah, nice purchase, absolutely. 5 builds very similar in solo queue.
Yeah.
Trinity Force and Steric's Gauge. But they've got, you know, kind of everything on the map except the Baron. So that's why we're still waiting for that moment where they feel strong enough to enact the Baron. Previously it required the TusiN Flash Headbutt Pulverize onto the Kog'Maw. That didn't get them the big objective they wanted, and in all that time, you know, we've repeated the same point a couple of times. About 5 to 7 minutes of the game have advanced, and the items that are still being pieced together are getting stronger. It's 3-item Corki, it's 3-item Gangplank, it's 3-item Kog'Maw. There's very certainly a fight where, say, the knockups don't register because all the flashes are up from BBQ, where, you know, Afreeca try to walk away and just get mown down by insane damage on the side of BBQ.
I feel like now if Tempt gets a black shield, he can do almost a guaranteed truck ton of damage to Afreeca Freecs. So it is just getting scarier and scarier. Can't say that BBQ are in a point where they can just walk at Afreeca 5v5 without really getting beaten up.
I mean, the kite back, right? The comp is about kite back. This ward, again, has spotted them out.
Just making bank. As they're clearing vision, BBQ setting themselves up, but this is going down way too fast. TusiN gets in, really good pulverize, and Spirit locks down the Baron once again. A hero cow, much like yesterday. TusiN is going to probably fall down for it. He's taken a hell of a long time. Heroic entrance comes in. Oh god, they trade 1-for-1 and get the Baron. That was beautifully played, and Kuro's choice to actually head in there, stunning.
TusiN an MVP, even with the ward that BBQ had. The Black Shield was a second late, not expecting the cow over the wall. TusiN does so much for his team, and the Baron they couldn't get for the better part of 10 minutes is theirs.
Yep, 6,000 gold, 3 Infernal Drakes, and a Cloud Drake to get them to killing even faster. They break open the base so quickly. Spirit's a split pusher on the Camille now as well, takes care of the inner turret bottom side. I think the wave's pushing on top side as well, as Kramer wants to try and take down this inhibitor. He has to be a little bit careful. He's been playing so aggressively today. Empowered backs are going to get them back home, and Afreeca, it's exactly what they've needed to do. It took them a little bit longer than I would have otherwise expected for an A+ score, but certainly working well.
I mean, BBQ struggled to close out a game when they were in a similar scenario to Afreeca. You remember the Ivern game from Trick, where they kept having their vision wards in the wrong spot. The control wards weren't in the right spot, and thus vision delayed Baron start after Baron start. That happened here again. It required TusiN to get the headbutt before the Black Shield was armed onto Trick. That didn't happen. Able to get the interrupt, able to force down the Baron. The Baron rolled through the base, not to the tune of an inhibitor, but an inhibitor turret is a great start for Afreeca Freecs, but they needed it then. They could not wait another 8 minutes of standby while the items piled up for BBQ. If Trick dies first, sadly the damage doesn't matter. It's kind of the struggle that BBQ have right now.
Yep, because they need to be alive in order to do damage. Scary story.
Trick is as tanky as can be, right? Warmogs and also the Gargoyles Stone play it, but doesn't matter when this team is so strong. Double Trinity Force makes everyone a split pusher on the side of Afreeca Freecs. Base broken, 2 inhibitor turrets available to be taken, and 1 inhibitor they're raining down hell on. Kramer doesn't have a care in the world, still flash available.
I feel like it might be Kramer's birthday, you know? He's had a gift this game, which is only a black shield and a flag and drag. Sorry, a dark binding and a flag and drag to worry about. As far as what he's going to get hit by is, okay, see you later, Kiin. He's going to crush his way out. BBQ just have to play scared. I don't know what the option is as far as forcing a fight to get rid of the Afreeca Freecs.
The only terrain where they can actually make use of their comp is their own Nexus turrets. It's difficult for them to fight around the inhibitor as Jarvan is drawn from lane to lane. Have to also reward Afreeca's drafting coach, Comet, who came over from Gnar, leaving no support for them to actually run this comp. Really nice ban on the Taric, ruining a lot of strategy. The Morgana has been a non-factor in this game.
Yep. Not a lot that they could do, but BBQ were panicking. We mentioned that they didn't have a lot of support options. The bans were all there. I mean, Shen might have been a better option, but I don't even know whether that would have changed the outcome of this game. Yeah, precisely.
Only the one that you mentioned that could have been thought of was Nami, but even then it wouldn't have done as much, and it probably just would have been ultimated and killed itself. So unless Nami is standing in the fountain trying to disengage with the rest of the carries, wouldn't have meant much.
Just throwing waves from the fountain.
They were so desperate for a Braum on target this game. Both of them would have been massive. The take of the Alistar as well. That's where the draft, I think, is the big one. That's why I said credit to Comet, credit to the staff on the side of Afreeca Freecs, because it's kind of a lose-lose scenario. Last pick support is often what you use to win lane and win game. Last pick support is what SKT did for a lot of their supremacy.
Yeah. Because
you can win your bot lane and also have an answer to the enemy team comp. No value from the last pick support for BBQ.
Well, this is a really, really scary Kramer. 6 items now. Lord Dominic's Regard just outright. Of course, a lot of these AD carries do not want to get rid of their Relic Shield. And so Kramer is going to be one of those. But now with 6 items, who needs a little bit more gold generation? Overshield doesn't matter so much because he's so safe. Tanky front line of Kiin and Kuro is just enough.
I mean, Kuro just stands there and he's got Thorn Mail and Stone Plate and he's a Galio, so it's like, well...
And every one of his items has health on it, and he's got so much flat resist. Good God.
It's the story of, you have so much time as Kramer to do damage. You know, rushed if you're the BBQ carries, because there's no way for Jarvan to have anywhere near a level of presence. Well, now it's 36% AD and AP. That's a lot.
Oh, God. Jesus, okay.
548 AD
on an Ezreal. What?
He gets Trinity Force. He doesn't even min-max on AD.
Yeah. And Blade of the Ruin King as well, which isn't a large amount of base AD.
Hit one of those Qs, Kramer. Let's see some chunking.
Yeah. Well, it was actually the chunking coming out of Tempt.
Oh, yep. There we go. That's the solid 400 damage just to Q. No nerfs on this patch. Still full power for Ezreal. Still on patch 8.1.
Yep.
Remember those turrets? Not for long. Oh. He's 5-shotting turrets.
Nexus turrets as well. Oh, God, okay. Ghost, you can't be taking them Qs, my friend. You stand back. That is... I'm not used to that kind of chunk. As in goes Trick. They're trying it, but there's a headbutt pole. You're tanky, but you're not that tanky. In goes Kuro, just as punch to the face. Ghost in trouble. That's a melee range mini Gnar. And Ghost on the fountain is not going to be able to protect the Nexus, which explodes in front of the damage of Kramer. Afreeca Freecs, genius in the draft. And brilliant in the game.
Yeah, execution really good as well. Almost a chance for BBQ. The Black Shield is half a second earlier, and Jarvan gets into the pit and actually claims the Baron. Who knows what's possible? The delay would have been severe, but picking up the Baron allowed them to finally break the base, finally break the hearts of BBQ, whose defense from 20 minutes onwards was pretty good, all things considered. And that means that BBQ have to go back to the drawing board. Credit to the approaches of Afreeca. Really nice pick and ban from them. BBQ thought they had everything when they locked in the Jarvan, but then when it finally got to support, things just did not come together compared to the comp that Afreeca had put together.
Yeah, and one of the scary things is you look at Afreeca and you think, who are we giving the MVP to? Who's the one that really deserves it? There were sort of big moments for a lot of players, but really, it was just how the team executed on their game plan, right?
The best individual player of the game was TusiN. He also had a nice engage onto the Kog'Maw. So when I'm asked, I'll probably say TusiN, but like you say, a lot of good people there. The coach can't have the MVP, sadly. We don't have none of them shenanigans. But at the end of the day, BBQ outdrafted, ended up being outplayed. Still a series in the balance. I think the draft of Game 2 will tell us whether it's going to be a 2-0, whether it will continue to be very competitive.
Yeah, and we're going to switch sides as well, so we'll see exactly what happens. But guys, there's going to be a short break, and we'll see exactly what happens afterwards as far as Afreeca versus BBQ, because BBQ, they brought a whole bunch of chicken. Things were looking really good for Papa Smithy and I. But now it's not looking so good for BBQ themselves. We'll see whether they can give us a series as we move to a short break. We'll see you very, very soon.
King!